I'm sorry, sir, but we do not have any rooms available tonight.
But I have a confirmed reservation right here. Is there really nothing you can do for me?
He actually believed we could help him.
Mr. David, welcome back. It is an absolute honor to have you with us again. Please, let me personally escort you to our finest executive suite.
Let me tell you what happened to me and my little girl down in Charleston. It still gets me hot thinking about it. It was just about sundown when I pulled off the highway and rolled into the driveway of the Blue Cypress Inn, out on the edge of Charleston, South Carolina. The heat hadn't let up one bit, even that late in the day. The road was still shimmering, and the sky over the marsh was turning all kinds of orange and pink, like somebody took a paintbrush to it. I put the car in park and just sat there a second. In the back seat, my little girl Zoe, she's 9, had finally fallen asleep, cheeks smushed up against the window, mouth hanging open a little. Her tablet had slipped off her lap, some cartoon still frozen on the screen. I didn't move right away, just sat there and took it in. We'd been on the road a long time coming up from Savannah, counting the gas stops and the drive-through breaks. Truth is, I didn't need to make this trip myself, but it felt like something I had to do. See, the Blue Cypress had just come off a big renovation done through my management company. I own the place, but ain't nobody know that. My name's not out front on nothing. I like it that way. Keeps my business quiet. But this trip wasn't about business. It was about a promise I made my daughter. Zoe's birthday was coming up in 2 days, and ever since she seen the pictures of that hotel with the big waterfall in the lobby, she wouldn't stop talking about it. So I figured, forget the theme parks and the crowds this year. Bring her somewhere calm, just me and her. I looked back at her in the mirror. "Hey now, baby girl," I said, tapping the wheel. She stirred, blinked her eyes open. "We here?" she asked. "We here," I told her, smiling. She perked right up. "Can we swim tonight?" "Let's get checked in first. Then we'll talk about that pool." I stepped out into that thick evening heat, my knees popping a little the way they do now, leftover from my time in the service. Walked around and opened her door. She climbed out holding her little backpack like it was made of glass. Now, I don't look like what folks think a man with money looks like. I had on a plain t-shirt, some cargo shorts, sneakers that had seen better days, kept my hair cut close, face clean, skin dark from years of sun and discipline. That's what the Marines leave on a man. But I wasn't there to be recognized. I was there to rest. I grabbed her suitcase from the trunk and walked us into the lobby, her hand in mine. Inside, it was cool, smelled like cedar and something floral. That waterfall from the pictures was right there, running down a whole wall, filling up the room with sound. Zoe's eyes went wide. "Daddy, look, it's really water." "Told you," I said, grinning. Up at the front desk, there were 3 folks working. 2 of them were off to the side, laughing at something on a phone. The third, a young woman, sharp-dressed, dark lipstick, name tag said Kayla, looked up as we walked over. I nodded, gave her an easy smile. "Evening, checking in, name's Marcus Odom, should be under Odom Hospitality Group." Her smile dropped a little. Fingers stopped moving over the keyboard. You have a confirmation number?" I kept my voice light. "Shouldn't need one. I own the property. Booked straight through the company last week. 5 nights, top suite, just me and my daughter." She gave a tight little smile. "One moment," started clicking around real slow, glancing up at me every few seconds like I was holding up her whole night. After a bit, she looked up and let out a sigh. "Sir, I'm sorry, but we're fully booked this week. Must have been some kind of mix-up." "Sir." I blinked. That can't be right. "It happens," she shrugged, already looking past me at the next guest. "You could try the place across the road. They might have something open." I glanced down at Zoe. She'd gone quiet, eyes bouncing between me and the woman. I turned back to the desk. "Can you look again, please?" But Kayla had already waved the next folks up. A couple decked out in golf gear, luggage that looked brand new. She lit up for them. "Welcome in. Checking in?" I stepped back. Wasn't mad. Not yet. More like that steady, locked-down calm I learned a long time ago, in places a lot worse than a hotel lobby. I knelt down next to Zoe. "Let's sit a second, okay?" She nodded, confused but quiet. We found a bench near that big waterfall wall. I watched the golf couple get handed their key cards with big smiles, no trouble at all. Didn't say nothing, just watched. Something in my gut told me this wasn't about no overbooking. The bellhop came by rolling their bags, looked me over once, then looked away without a word. Zoe tugged my sleeve. "Daddy," she said soft, "did they forget our room?" I forced a smile. "Nah, baby, I don't think they forgot. I think somebody just didn't want to look." She tilted her head. "Why?" I looked down at my hands a second. Sometimes people decide things based on what they think they see, not what's really there. Her eyes stayed on me. "Like a disguise?" "Kind of," I said. "Except the disguise ain't on me." Before she could ask what I meant by that, I stood up. "Let me try one more time." I walked back up to the desk alone this time. Kayla had just finished with another couple of guests, a couple older gentlemen going on about tea times. "Excuse me," I said, calm as I could. She sighed. "Sir, I already told you." "I heard you," I said. "I just need you to do one thing. Type in Odom Hospitality Group and pull up the reservation file." She hesitated, hand hanging over the keys. "I already checked." I didn't raise my voice, didn't scowl, just leaned in a little and said, "Please." Something shifted, small, but I caught it. Her shoulders went stiff, eyes narrowed just a touch. Still, she typed, scrolled, paused. For half a second, her whole face changed, like something clicked. Then it was gone. "Nope," she said fast, clicking away from the screen. "Nothing. Like I said, we're full. Sorry." I just looked at her a second, didn't say a thing, nodded once and stepped back. From her spot on the bench, Zoe watched me walk off, slow, past the desk, toward the lounge. I wasn't looking mad. I looked like a man putting pieces together, quiet, focused. Found a chair by a big plant, pulled out my phone, made a call. "Lisa? Yeah, it's Marcus. I'm at the Blue Cypress with Zoe." Pause. "No, not yet, just got told the place is full." Pause. "Yeah, I'm aware of the irony." I let out a laugh that didn't really reach anywhere. "Can you get somebody to confirm the booking file on your end? Under the usual name." "I don't want no special treatment. Just check it. I'll hold." I hung up and sat back. Zoe had come and settled next to me by then, her head resting on my arm. "Daddy," she said, real quiet, "we gonna have to sleep in the car?" That question hit me a certain kind of way. Not 'cause we couldn't afford better, 'cause I remembered a time when the car was the only option I had. "No, sweet pea," I told her and kissed the top of her head. "We're not." Right then my phone buzzed. 2 texts, back to back, both from Lisa. Confirmed. "Your suite's in the system. Booked under Odom Hospitality. 5 nights, room 314. It's definitely there. You want me to call the GM?" I looked at the screen, then over at the front desk. Typed back, "No. Let's give 'em one more shot." I stood up, phone still in my hand, and walked back to the counter. This time a different worker had stepped up. Tall guy, maybe 30, beige blazer, thin little mustache, name tag said Trevor. "Evening, sir. How can I help you?" I gave him a look, nothing hard about it, just straight. "I've been trying to check in. Bookings under Odom Hospitality Group, room 314. Trevor nodded and started typing. Kayla, standing off to the side, got real quiet all of a sudden. A few seconds later, Trevor's eyebrows went up. "Huh, you're right, it's here. 5-night suite. My apologies, Mr. Odom." He didn't even blink at hearing my name. Kayla did, though, just a little flinch. I kept my voice level. "So the room's available." Trevor cleared his throat. "Yes, sir. Not sure why that didn't show up earlier." "You might want to find out," I said. He nodded fast. "Absolutely. I'll get your keys printed right now. Need help with your bags?" "No," I said. "What I'd like is to speak to your general manager." He paused. The GM's not in till tomorrow morning." "Fine. Assistant GM then. I'll wait and see if she's free." Oh. Trevor disappeared into the back. I glanced over at Kayla, who'd suddenly found her pen real interesting to look at. Zoe slid her hand back into mine. We got our room now? We did, I told her, but I ain't done yet. 'Cause at that point, I wasn't just checking in no more. I was paying attention. Trevor came back a few minutes later, a little flushed, 2 fresh key cards in his hand. Here you go, Mr. Odom, he said, setting them down careful, like they might bite him. Room 314, 3rd floor, elevators to your left. I didn't reach for them, just looked him dead in the eye. Your assistant GM come out with you? He hesitated, gave a stiff little nod. She's, tied up on a call right now. Asked if you'd want to wait, or if she could reach out tomorrow instead. I'll wait, I said, plain and simple. I could feel Kayla's eyes on me, but she wasn't saying nothing. Just stood there dead still, like if she didn't move, maybe she'd disappear. Zoe tugged my shirt. Can I go look at the waterfall while we wait? Stay where I can see you, I told her. She skipped off toward the low marble ledge where the water came down, crouched there watching her own reflection bend and ripple in the glass. I turned back to the counter. You told me the hotel was full. Kayla finally opened her mouth. Yes, earlier. I must have overlooked something. That something was me, I said. Trevor shifted his weight, uncomfortable. Look, I'm sure it was just a simple mistake. Was it? I kept it calm, no heat behind it at all, but the question landed heavy anyway. Trevor opened his mouth, then closed it again. Kayla's whole posture changed. Wasn't defensive no more, just looked embarrassed. I picked up the key cards. I'm gonna head up and get settled, but later on, I want 10 minutes with your assistant GM. This ain't finished. They both just nodded, not a word between them. Me and Zoe stepped into the elevator, doors sliding shut with a soft little chime. I looked down at her. Why didn't they want to give us our room? She asked. I thought a second, picking my words. Because some folks judge what they don't know. They see a man in old sneakers with his kid, and they figure he don't belong somewhere like this. But we do, she said. You said we own it. We do. So they made a mistake. No, I said. They made a choice. And now it's my turn to make one. 'Cause by that point this wasn't about vacation for me no more. It was about principle. We got up to room 314 and it was something else. Floor-to-ceiling windows looking out over the marsh, the water catching the last of that orange evening light. Long sectional couch facing a mounted TV, everything modern and warm, just how I'd signed off on it back during the renovation. Zoe ran straight for the balcony. Daddy, you can see the whole marsh from up here. I stepped out with her, watched the sun sink down over the water. Should have felt peaceful. My jaw stayed tight anyway. Phone buzzed again. Another text from Lisa. Want me to call the board? Or legal? I typed back, no. Send the district director this number. Tell him I'm here till Thursday. They want to know why their front desk just tried to turn away a paying guest. They can ask me themselves. Set the phone down. 10 minutes later, a knock at the door. I opened it to a woman, late 40s maybe, short blonde hair, blazer over a black top. Badge read Denise Carter, assistant general manager. I'm not sure what happened, but it doesn't reflect how we run things here. I sat down. She stayed standing. Tell me something, I said, folding my hands. You know who I am? Yes. After Trevor came back, I pulled the records. You're on the ownership paperwork through Odom Hospitality Group. You're the silent partner. I nodded once. So why you think your staff told me this place was full? She shifted her weight, picking her words slow. I think they made assumptions off how you looked. Things they got no business using to judge a guest. That's the right answer, I said. But I need to know. You let that kind of thing slide around here? No, she said, firm now. I don't. I'll handle it myself. I looked at her a long second. Good, 'cause I'm not gonna make a scene, but I will remember. I stood up. I'm not here to embarrass nobody. I believe in people being held accountable, though. I built this place to be better than the rest, not just nicer furniture, better service, better values. You understand me? Absolutely, she said quick. I'll make sure it's dealt with. I put my hand out. She shook it. Thank you for your time, I told her. She left and I shut the door behind her, turned to Zoe, curled up on the couch flipping through a resort magazine. Everything okay now? She asked. Getting there, I said, but I wasn't done watching. Not yet. Next morning I was up before sunrise. Old habit, hard to break. Made myself some of that weak in-room coffee, terrible stuff but better than nothing, and stepped out on the balcony. Air was cool and still. Down below the pool sat empty, chairs lined up perfect. I leaned on the railing watching. Wasn't angry no more, that had passed. Now I was just curious. What kind of place was this really, when nobody thought they were being watched? 8 o'clock sharp, me and Zoe headed down. She had on her favorite orange dress, sneakers, hair in 2 little poofy ponytails she'd done herself. I wore the same kind of plain outfit. T-shirt, old jeans, no watch, nothing flashy. Looked like any regular father and daughter on a little trip. That was the point. Walking through the lobby, I clocked Kayla back at the desk, smile tight, eyes down, hands fussing with something under the counter. Trevor stood close by, all sugar and smiles for a well-dressed couple asking about the breakfast spread. I didn't stop. Me and Zoe made our way to the restaurant off the lobby, low country table. Table for 2? The hostess asked. Young woman, box braids, clipboard in hand. Yes, please, I said. She smiled, and it was real. Right this way. Good sign. They sat us by the windows. I ordered a veggie omelet and coffee. Zoe went straight for pancakes, chocolate chips, extra syrup. Halfway through the meal, I noticed something. Older couple nearby, white, maybe mid-60s, had the look of regulars. Hostess walked off, and they flagged a server over direct. We don't want to sit this close, the man said. Could we move somewhere quieter? Server looked around. Only open table nearby was right next to me and Zoe. She hesitated. We'd rather be away from all the activity, the woman added. That word just sat there in the air. The man looked dead at me when he said it. I didn't say nothing back. The server, looking mighty uncomfortable, walked them off to the far side of the room. Zoe didn't notice a thing. She was busy drawing a bunny in syrup on her napkin, but I noticed, and so did somebody else. The same hostess who'd seated us came back over a few minutes later, quiet. Everything okay over here? We're good, I said, smiling. Thanks. She lowered her voice. I just wanted to say, I saw that, and I'm sorry. That couple's known for being a little particular. I looked up at her. You handled it just right. She nodded once. Thank you. Let me know if anybody else gives y'all trouble. And she walked off, head up, back straight. Now that was somebody worth investing in. By 10, we were back out in the lobby. I sat with my coffee, phone out, pretending to scroll. Zoe had her headphones on, watching a movie beside me. But I was watching everything. One guest came in, younger black man, sharp suit, looked like he might be in town for some kind of conference. Walked up to the front desk. I saw Kayla go stiff right away. Man was polite, handed over his ID, said his company had a corporate rate booked. Kayla looked it up, said she didn't see it. He asked her to check again. She said there was nothing she could do, told him to call his company and come back with a confirmation number. Man was clearly embarrassed but held it together, stepped off to the side and dialed his phone. 30 seconds later, I stood up and walked to the desk. Excuse me, I said to Trevor. Can I speak with Denise? Trevor flinched, like he'd been dreading exactly this. She's actually not in yet. I turned to Kayla. You sure about that? Her face went pale. I'll check, Trevor said fast, already grabbing the phone. I turned to the young man still on his call. What company you with? He looked surprised. Coastal Dynamics. They told me everything was handled. They tell you which room. Standard King. Ah. I nodded. They booked through our corporate rate last week. I approved that contract myself. His eyes went wide. Wait, hold up. I looked at him straight. I'm Marcus Odom, This hotel's mine. Kayla didn't move a muscle. Trevor damn near dropped the phone. I turned back to Kayla. You saw my name yesterday. You saw my face. And you chose to act like I didn't belong here. Silence. And now here comes a man who looks like me, dresses sharper than I do, talks respectful, and all of a sudden the system's blank again. I stepped back. I don't want excuses. I want accountability, and I want Denise the second she's in today. I turned back to the young man from Coastal Dynamics. You'll have your room in 5 minutes, waved the hostess over, the one from breakfast. Can you help him get settled? Of course, she said, nodding. I watched her walk him off, then sat back down next to Zoe. She looked up at me. Did you fix it again? I sipped my coffee. Working on it. 'Cause this time I wasn't just watching no more. I was taking names. By noon, word had gotten around, staff whispering by the elevators. The barista at the lobby cafe gave me a free refill, no questions, no explanation needed. Bellhops who hadn't so much as glanced my way the night before were nodding, standing up a little straighter when I walked past. Wasn't looking for attention. That was never the point. What I wanted was for people to know they'd been seen, and that part was working. Me and Zoe spent the early afternoon out by the pool. She splashed around the shallow end, chasing a pool noodle like it was the best thing that ever happened to her. I stayed stretched out on a lounger, still watching. Staff walked by every now and then, caught a few double takes, a few side eyes, but nobody came over to say a word. Around 3, I got a text. Denise is in, waiting in the executive lounge. Meet whenever works for you. I dried off, grabbed Zoe a snack from the cafe. Gotta go talk to some folks for a bit. You good hanging in the room, watching cartoons? She nodded, mouth already full of fruit snacks. I walked into the lounge. Empty except Denise and one other man, white, bald, mid-50s, suit with no tie, name tag on his breast pocket read Gordon Pierce, regional director. So now they were bringing out the regional folks. Denise stood. Mr. Odom! I shook her hand, then turned to Gordon. He gave me a firm handshake. Mr. Odom, pleasure. Flew in from Atlanta this morning. Denise gave me the full report, and I want to apologize to you personally. I took a seat. You read the report? I did. Good. Then you already know this wasn't no system glitch. It was a people problem. Gordon nodded. Agreed. Denise jumped in. I've already spoken with Kayla. She's on administrative leave while we run a full review. I tilted my head a little. And the rest of your staff? We're reevaluating training protocols, reviewing who's had bias training and who hasn't. I held a hand up. I didn't come here to hear about training modules. Oh. They both went quiet. I came here because this hotel means something to me. I bought it thinking people, all people, should feel welcome walking through them doors, not just the ones who happen to fit somebody's picture of who belongs. Gordon shifted in his seat. I kept going, calm but deliberate. Last night your staff lied to my face. Today I watched the same thing happen again, and it wasn't subtle. It was repeated, calculated, and it didn't have to happen. I paused. Don't matter to me if somebody's behind the desk or mopping the floor. Every job here deserves respect. But respect ain't a one-way street. If your team's out here disrespecting guests and doing it more than once, then somebody up top ain't doing their job either. Denise nodded. We hear you. No, I said, firmer now. You're responding. That's different from hearing. Gordon cleared his throat. So, what would you like us to do? I leaned forward, elbows on the table. I want more than a write-up. I want this turned into something real, a case study your whole staff has to sit with. Not a slide deck, a meeting. Names, details, consequences. Neither of them interrupted. I want it real clear. This ain't about me. It's about anybody who walks through that door, whether they got on loafers or flip-flops, whether they pulled up in a rental or a Benz. If your first instinct is to assume somebody don't belong, then you don't belong on my team. I stood. And I want every guest who got brushed off today followed up with personally, an apology, not a voucher. Gordon nodded slow. Consider it done. I looked at Denise. You're good at your job, but don't go covering for the ones who aren't. It drags the whole house down. I understand, she said. I turned to leave, then stopped at the door. Oh, and Gordon. Yes? Next time your team lets somebody slip through the cracks like this, make sure it ain't a Marine who happens to own the place. I walked out without waiting on a reply. Back in the elevator, I let out a breath. Wasn't anger no more, wasn't even disappointment. It was just clarity, and sometimes that's the most dangerous thing a person can carry. I'd given them their wake-up call. Now it was on them what they did with it. Next morning felt different the second I stepped off the elevator. Same marble floors, same waterfall wall, same cedar and lavender smell in the lobby, but the whole energy had shifted. Trevor greeted me first, and this time there wasn't a nerve in him, just something closer to humble. "Morning, Mr. Odom," he said, standing up straight. "Your daughter enjoy the pool yesterday?" "She did. Chut." "Good." He looked like he wanted to say more but held it back, just gave a respectful nod and got back to work. In the restaurant, that same hostess came by again. "Hey," she said, quiet. "I heard what you did. A lot of us really appreciate it." I smiled. "You were already doing things right. That's what counts." After breakfast, me and Zoe walked the grounds together. She had her arm looped through mine, swinging her feet along the stone borders, humming some little tune she made up on the spot. To her, this was just a fancy hotel with a big pool and all-you-can-eat pancakes. I wanted to keep it that way, for now. Walking past the conference hallway, Denise stepped out, clipboard in hand, face serious but not tense. "Mr. Odom, you got a minute?" Zoe looked up at me. I gave her a wink. "Go grab your tablet from the room. I'll catch up." Once she was gone, Denise cleared her throat. "Thought you should know. We held a mandatory staff meeting this morning, walked everybody through what happened. Names, details, all of it. I raised an eyebrow. How'd they take it? Didn't sugarcoat it. Some got defensive, couple were embarrassed, a few tried to play dumb, but they listened. Made it clear this wasn't optional, it was required. I nodded. That's what I wanted to hear. I also told them you'll be talking with corporate next week. They want to build this into training company-wide. I let out a little laugh. Good. Maybe it keeps somebody else from going through what I went through. Bah. She gave a small, real smile. For what it's worth, you didn't have to handle it this way. Could have made a scene, called the press, gotten people fired on the spot. Maybe, I said. But what would my daughter learn from that? Oh, she didn't answer right away. She'd learn that power's something you swing around, I said, not something you stand on. That ain't what I want for her. I want her learning respect, not revenge. Denise looked down at her clipboard. We'll do better, I promise you that. I believe you, I said and turned to go, then stopped. Let me ask you something. I said it over my shoulder. If I'd walked in here in a suit, no kid with me, different last name, you think any of this happens? She was honest. No, probably not. I nodded. Then, we both already know what's gotta change. That afternoon, Zoe wanted to hit the gift shop downstairs, had $10 of birthday money burning a hole in her pocket. While we were browsing, Kayla walked in quiet. She looked smaller than she had a couple days before, not physically, just less sure of herself, edges worn down some. Mr. Odom, she said, soft. I turned around. I wanted to say I'm sorry for how I treated you, for how I looked at you. Zoe was off flipping through postcards nearby, not paying attention. I've been thinking on it a lot, and I realized I assumed things I had no business assuming. Can't take it back, but I am sorry. I studied her face a second. She meant it. You can tell when somebody ain't putting on a show. Gave a small nod. Thank you for saying that. She looked relieved. I don't expect you to forgive me. I do forgive you, I told her, but I won't forget it. And you shouldn't either. She swallowed, nodded. I won't. As she walked off, Zoe came running up holding a stuffed javelina toy. Daddy, can I get this? I laughed. What in the world is that? It's a desert pig. I handed her the $10 bill. It's all yours, boss. We spent the rest of the trip just enjoying ourselves. Pool days, room service, movies before bed. First time in a long while I felt like I wasn't just fixing something broken. I was building something. Last morning, loading up the car, Trevor came out with 2 cold water bottles and a little paper bag. Just a road snack for you and your daughter, he said. Muffins from the kitchen. No charge. I took it. Thank you. He looked me dead in the eye. We won't forget the lesson, sir. I hope not. I buckled Zoe into the back seat, kissed her forehead, and slid in behind the wheel. As we pulled off from the blue cypress, she piped up, Daddy? Dad? Yeah? You're like a secret superhero. Oh, I smiled. Nah, baby, just your dad. 'Cause sometimes the biggest power move a man's got is walking away with his head up and his hands clean. Don't judge folks by what they got on, how they look, or what you assume they can afford. Respect don't cost nothing to give, but ignoring it'll cost you plenty. If this story made you think twice about how we treat people off first impressions, pass it along. Somebody out there might need to hear it at just the right time, and if you've ever been the one standing behind that front desk, stay patient. You never know who's watching.